On offense here, the Bucks. Let's find out what Doris Burke has for us.
Well, Kevin, Larry Drew gave me a few minutes to catch up with him. And he said, honestly, it's hard to separate these teams on paper. We're similar in so many ways that it's difficult to find an area where one side really has an advantage. He said he wouldn't be surprised if this one was decided by just a few points. Perfect for us, guys.
Thanks, Doris. I think we all sort of knew we'd be in for quite a battle.
Well, that's how it looks on paper. I mean, hard to tell these teams apart. They're so evenly matched. So I think we're in for a good one tonight.
I agree. It should make it all that more entertaining, fellas.
You talk about some of the breakout players of last season, and at the top of the list for me was Grievous Vasquez, runner-up for most improved player, 6'6" point guard, improved his shooting significantly, and played with a lot of confidence for New Orleans.
That one is off. And Vasquez, originally from Venezuela, Clark, and Steve, you know, you mentioned his passing. Last season, third guys in the league in assists.
Yeah, and at 6'6", Kevin, a very good rebounder for a guard. He's not super quick, and that hurts him defensively, but he has excellent anticipation. And you can always cross-match him with some of the shorter two guards, so he's a valuable player in the backcourt.
Good on the second free throw.
You take a look at the offense for the Kings last season, there are some things to build on here, guys. Fourth in the NBA in fast break points, top 4 in points in the paint. Those are good numbers to build your offensive foundation around.
Now, here is Knight. Mayo into the lane. And Sanders kicks to Mayo. And the three ball is good. Mayo's got 5 points so far.
That's like a layup for him. He's just wide open out there.
But for the Kings, I think Coach Mike Malone will try to get them to play a little more unselfishly, Steve, especially at the offensive end.
Yeah, they had a team last year that just seemed to be jacking up shots anytime they could get one up individually. They were among the lowest in the league in assists as a team. A lot of isolation basketball. It was not pretty to watch. Oh, the rapid-fire threes coming from everywhere.
I thought it might be a little imprudent to try to get those points right back, but it worked.
Here's Delfino. Floats one up, and that is good.
They can't afford to give him that kind of look.
Well, it came off a good screen, but still, as a defender, you got to fight over the top of that.
Now, here's Vasquez. In low to Cousins, and he dunks it down. There it is, guys, that Olay defense. Just watching him go, Clark, right by.
I think we might be seeing which team is ready to take control of this game.
Yeah, that's a dunk that could absolutely get them going. I agree, Clark.
And the Bucks with possession here. Sacramento making their last shot. Knight dishes to Delfino. Delfino gets a screen from Sanders. Oh, good from Delfino.
You know, in Larry Drew's case, it was a bit of an unusual situation once the season concluded. He was in the final year of his deal. The Hawks said we'll interview other candidates and left him free to interview for other head coaching positions, and he landed in Milwaukee. The easiest way to do it sometimes is with the bounce pass.
And Milwaukee calls their first time out of the game. Well, Stephen, back to Coach Drew, of course, he ended up signing with the Bucks.
Well, that was an interesting move for him to go from Atlanta to Milwaukee. You know, the Hawks were one of the better defensive teams in the league last year. I think that's what the Bucks saw in Drew. And that's the idea for him to really help this team get the most out of its players, particularly defensively.
And the Kings making a change here. Chuck Hayes, he's checked in for Cousins. Landry comes in for Jason Thompson. John Selmans, he's checked in for Mba'amoute. And it's Thornton in for McLemore. Now, here's Ridnow. Here's Henson, and a foul on the shot. He'll go to the stripe for 2. It's on Carl Landry.
Well, for John Henson, the 14th pick of the 2012 NBA draft out of North Carolina, he really was caught in a bit of a logjam in Milwaukee. There were a lot of players at his position, the power forward spot, on their roster last season, and that kept him from getting extended minutes.
That's good from Henson. And Clark, you mentioned for John Henson, tough to get minutes his rookie season, but Steve, per minute, his numbers were very impressive.
Well, if you look at Henson, he's one of those guys who just fills up the stat sheet. I mean, he's going to have numbers in just about every category Incredibly long, active defender, can guard multiple positions, and he can score around the basket on putbacks.
Well, after a brief 2-year drought, the Bucks got back to the playoffs this past season, but it wasn't pretty once they got there. With several guarantees from players about upsetting the Heat, they didn't win a single game and were swept by the Miami Heat.
And Hayes kicks to Thomas. The shot goes down and it gets this game back to even. Back to the Bucks in the playoffs. In every aspect, they were overmatched by the Heat, and no one really thought they would upset them. But many thought, Steve, that they would at least get a game.
Well, I wasn't one of them, Kevin. I thought they were overmatched from the start. And you could tell in that series, Miami wasn't even interested until the fourth quarter. They knew they could just flip a switch and beat this Milwaukee team. And that's exactly what they did.
Just 1 second between the shot clock and game clock. The feed to Thornton. Back to Thomas. 11 seconds left in the first quarter. And Thornton gets it to go on the assist by Thomas. Thornton's got himself on the board with 3 there. Ridnour with it. 1 second left. Ilyasova. It's good, and he drew contact on the shot, so he will go to the line. A 3-point play chance here. Milwaukee shooting their 3rd free throw shot of the game.
Well, they were 74% free throw shooting.